Welcome to Talkin Science, where we dive into the latest news from space and science. Wiradjuri man David Towney is beaming in as we begin our week-long Talkin Science Fest. David, thanks for your time. Now, before we get into it, a quick reminder that you can get behind-the-scenes goss and early access to all Trekzone podcasts by becoming a member today. Click the join button on any Trekzone video, go to the Trekzone/support, or put your phone up to the QR code on screen throughout the show. David, last year to kick off NAIDOC Week, the dish was given the name Murriyang, recognising the country on which it stands. It was something 2 years in the making. What does it mean to you and the Wiradjuri people?
Well, it means a lot as a local Wiradjuri man. My little community is the main Aboriginal community close by the Parkes telescope, or Murriyang, and the whole area is significant, I suppose, as the reasons why they originally built the telescope in the first place. I suppose the country is a special place. We've got sites close by Murriyang, and the open sky is part of the reason why we chose the name as well, and part of the reason that I suppose the telescope connects to the sky. So when you put all that together, and it's a significant international monument, I suppose, the Parkes telescope, Murriyang, giving it an Aboriginal name actually attaches it back to our people and attaches it back to the country where it's built.
And I believe Murriyang is the sky world where a creator spirit of the Wiradjuri dreaming lives. Can you teach us about that, please?
It takes a lot of teaching. Takes a lot. But basically, we chose the name Murriyang, as you correctly just explained, is the home of Boyami, or Biami, our creator spirit, our creator God, and all of our spiritual stories that transcend from here on the ground up to the sky, just as like Christianity and other such religions also have within their stories, within their books. They have ground or earth stories, things that teach people stuff from day to day. And we also have our spiritual stories where they all elevate up to the sky. So we're exactly the same. We were probably one of the first people to do that. And we thought, well, that telescope, that's always pointing to the sky, pointing to the home of all of our spiritual stories and home of Biami. So we thought we'd call or give it that name, that it connects to the home of Biami.
For thousands of years, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have lived, studied and admired the stars. What does it mean as more locations are co-named or even renamed with traditional names?
I think it's important to have that connection between old technologies and the new technologies. I think that's the big important thing, that science and is recognising the first achievements of the first astronomers as well. And Australia is a great place to study the sky and the stars. So our people are scattered all throughout the place where telescopes and the night sky is studied. So I think it's important to recognise country, recognise our stories, recognise the people, and to make the connection that it's been thousands and thousands and thousands of years of connection and study.
Now, while Murriyang gets the lion's share of attention, two other dishes at Parkes have also been co-named. Can you talk to us about those?
Yeah, they're probably the little forgotten ones. So forgotten that I can't even remember their names from
Gaya Lung Gulaman and Gaya Lung Mill.
So basically that's like a big dish. Gayaman Gulaman, Gayaman Mill is Big Eye. Importantly, it also, with Australian history and I suppose history around the world with Indigenous peoples at the time, started to lose a lot of our languages because we were westernised, and so a lot of the naming of our places and places of significance around our areas, we're bringing back our language as well. We're also giving it recognition. A lot of people, yourself, myself, a lot of Aboriginal people still have difficulty because we've been trained English ways to pronounce things and to read things. It's difficult to go back to language that was almost lost, to try and get that language reread, resaid, relearned. And part of the process of renaming things, also educate and give significance back to our languages. Our languages connected us back to our land and our places, and it gives us meaning beyond words to the place and to the stories. So by naming Murriyang, straight away when you hear the names of our or renamed telescopes and significant places, you want to find out a little bit more about behind the stories, what that is. So a little bit about the renaming is also to spark your interest and to find out a little bit more about Wiradjuri people, about sky stories, about a little bit more about Aboriginal people in general.
And one of the best ways for people to do that is to visit the location. We were very fortunate enough to drive through Wiradjuri country as we attempted to get to Canberra for our Canberra road trip. Unfortunately, with the pandemic going on at the moment, we had to turn around, come home. But it is, as you said earlier in the show, Wiradjuri country is, especially many sites across Australia, but especially in Wiradjuri country, a very significant place for Australian astronomical research. Plenty of telescopes out and about, and it's just absolutely incredible to think that, just to imagine that for thousands of years before the English came, there were people here looking up at the stars and studying them for all these thousands of years. And it's fantastic to have that recognised in some way, and I guess sort of moving back towards those traditional ways as well.
I think so. I think if you look at the journey of humans, I think we all have survival stories here on Earth, as in written in religious books, etc. All the ways that we behave and all the ways that we must conduct ourselves, etc., always end up in stories in the sky. The ways that we need to survive on this land end up being stories in the sky. So it's not just with Aboriginal people; it's all across the world that these things happen. And when you're on Wiradjuri land and want to connect with Wiradjuri people, you learn a little bit about the day-to-day things that happen here on the ground. But most of our stories in the sky are to do with our calendar, what we do each year, how we survive each year at a particular time of the year. That never changes. What's in the sky doesn't change. But it gives us an indication, and it gives us a map what to do here and live and survive on the ground and how to behave as proper people. It gives us structure. If you forget all those types of things, then you forget how we as a people conduct ourselves here on the ground, I suppose.
Absolutely fantastic to chat with you, David. I really appreciate a little bit of your time today for Talkin Science Fest. Thanks for beaming into Trekzone.
Thank you. Mandangu.
Keep up to date with Twitter. Catch new podcasts daily on YouTube. Plus, we're beaming to your favourite podcast app 5 days a week. Just search for Trekzone and subscribe.